The next step in my DIY voiceover audio booth construction project is the bass trap end walls. The end walls of my booth, behind me and over there, double as bass traps. They block unwanted sound from coming from the outside, but also absorb low-frequency bass that builds up on the inside. I built a model to show you the functional layers. I covered the insulation with plastic just to keep the fibers from escaping, but that's not part of the design. We left that out when we built the actual walls. Sound passes pretty uninhibited through the burlap and then through a layer of moving blanket. Air, floor sound barrier material, air, a second moving blanket, air, the Roxul Safe and Sound, a second layer of floor sound barrier material, and finally hits the plywood and is reflected back into these sound dampening layers. 1x3s are used as spacers to make pockets of air between layers. Some sound passes through the barrier, and some sound is reflected by the barrier and bounces around in the air gap. Bass frequencies will be trapped in these gaps and in the insulation. The sound of my voice first gets absorbed by the bass trap at that end of the booth. Anything left over comes back and gets absorbed by that one. Very little reflection makes it back into this microphone. This design was inspired by a bass trap described in the video mentioned in the description. Check that one out for more build inspirations. Here you can see progress has already been made on the far end wall. Once again, we wanted to avoid using the horrible acoustical glue, so we stapled a layer of floor sound barrier to the 4x8 plywood. We screwed this to a frame, the sides being 1x6s and the top plate and bottom plate being 2x6s. Centering the frame on the plywood left space for the sidewalls. We also left space at the top. This space is just the thickness of the roof, which will sit on the ledge, and screws can be put through the plywood to secure and stabilize it. We put Roxul Safe and Sound insulation in the frame. It's thicker and less dense than the Comfort Board 80 that we used for the sidewalls. Since Safe and Sound isn't rigid like the Comfort Board 80, I was concerned about the weight of the insulation slowly crushing the bottom pieces, so we put a support shelf halfway up. We used 1x3s for this. At the top, we put a piece of 1x3, pre-drilling so that we didn't split the wood. This keeps the insulation in place and acts as a spacer. To this, we stapled a moving blanket. Then we screwed in a piece of 1x2, pre-drilling of course. To this, we stapled a sheet of floor sound barrier. A piece of moving blanket was stapled to the outside of the frame. This layering effect, using dampening materials and pockets of air, creates an environment that traps bass frequencies and helps deaden the audio booth. The side walls were butted up against the end walls, and L brackets are used inside to connect them. Oh, my son is trying to help with his plastic hammer. Next came the tricky part. We didn't feel like taking the bed apart, and we had to fit the booth into this rather limited closet space. So getting the roof into place was a bit of a challenge. The door wall was extremely heavy and awkward, so they attached a temporary handle and brought it into the room. After a necessary last-minute design change with a sawzall, it scooted into place under the ceiling. To make it look nice, I added a layer of burlap in my favorite color. I thought this would brighten up the interior and contrast nicely with the coffee bean burlap. Check out the blog post in the description to see diagrams and a materials list. Check out the next video to see how we built an air intake and exhaust system. I set out to build a professional audio booth for voiceover recording. Before I charged my drill, I spent 2 years researching everything from the science behind audio waves to room treatments such as diffusion panels and bass traps. While this is a how-to series of sorts, I am not responsible for any injury, destruction, or loss of any kind, including monetary, that you may incur while attempting anything inspired by what you see here. By continuing to read my blog and watch the associated videos, you assume all responsibilities for your decisions and actions. I can say that we avoided serious injury despite clumsiness and extreme heavy construction materials. I am not an audio engineer nor a carpenter. I'm just a voiceover artist in pursuit of a quiet place to record audiobooks, content marketing video voiceovers, and voice tracks for radio and television advertisements. Hopefully, you can learn from my mistakes and make an even better booth than I do. If you do, let me know about it. When my design is inspired by someone else's design, I'll tell you, or make a note in the description.